And now to give you more perspective on this, we'll speak to DW correspondent Varda Imran from Berlin. Good afternoon, Varda from India. Give us the latest update on Germany elections.
Well, now the result is actually clear. So now we know also that the smaller parties, at least the two smaller parties that yesterday were trying to get above the 5% threshold, are not making it into the German parliament. We're talking here of the Free Democratic Party, FDP, that was actually part of the three-way coalition until November, and the Bundessaga Wagenknecht is described as a far-left populist party. They will not make it into parliament, which essentially means that for Friedrich Merz and his conservative bloc CDU-CSU, it will be easier to form a two-party coalition. In other words, his conservative bloc and the Social Democrats, provided obviously that the Social Democrats are actually on board. That is still not clear. What is clear is that if the Social Democrats enter into negotiations, into discussions with the Conservative bloc, the outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz will neither be part of the discussions, nor will he be part of a government led by Friedrich Merz.
Now, you say that the likely coalition is of the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats. How is this alliance viewed in Germany and the market especially?
This alliance is not a new one in Germany. In fact, during Angela Merkel's time in office, that was a common alliance between her conservative bloc and the Social Democrats. But obviously, the world now is a very different one. And not only that, the conservative bloc is another conservative party. Friedrich Merz is not very similar to Angela Merkel. In fact, the two are not the best friends. And Friedrich Merz has already indicated that he plans to move his party, his conservative bloc, more towards the right instead of towards the center, which is where Angela Merkel had taken her conservative bloc. So when you ask what Germans think about a possible alliance, now that's one element to consider. A second element to consider is what alternatives there are. Because if there are no other alternatives, many Germans would prefer a grand coalition, as it's called, instead of a minority government that Conservatives would lead, which would make things much more difficult for them in parliament. So the question now is what Friedrich Merz will do, what his next steps will be. Will he enter into those discussions with, for example, the Social Democrats? Will he also try and enter discussions with the Green Party that also suffered in Sunday's result? Those are all elements that will become clearer on Monday here in Germany after we hear from the different party leaders, and also obviously in the next few days and in the next few weeks. One important element that's relevant to stress: this could take a long time. In the past, coalition building in Germany has even lasted up to nearly 6 months. So no one's expecting this time round, but what everyone is expecting is that it won't be easy for Friedrich Merz.
Also, will the incoming government be able to fuel the economy? What is their outlook so far?
Well, they have to fuel the economy. There's no way out of that. That's the main challenge that they face. And by the way, that was also one of the main topics that voters actually thought of when depositing their vote on Sunday. It was the economy and it was migration. And there's no doubt that the economy will play a very important role in whatever coalition ends up governing Germany, because the state of Germany's economy is in a very difficult one. If this year, if 2025 ends in recession, it will be the first time ever, the first time since the end of the Second World War, that Germany would have 3 consecutive years with recession. And that not only impacts living costs here in Germany, inflation, it also impacts how Germany performs internationally, because to a large extent, Germany's political influence in the world is closely linked to Germany's economic influence in the world. So we're not talking only here about the economy, we're also talking about what role Germany will play in the world in the next few months and in the next few years.
All right. Thank you so much, Thomas Parrow, for joining us and bringing us a rounded perspective on the latest result of Germany elections. A lot of hopes are there on the new government. Thank you so much, Mr. Parrow.